Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway had a high level, high intensity, and razor thin close matchup for the UFC Featherweight Championship of the world, and it saw Alexander Volkanovski take away the somewhat controversial split decision win. And tomorrow we're going to get another great featherweight matchup between Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige. They're going to square off in a match that's going to shake up the top 10 of the division, but probably not the top 5. And besides both of these matchups being in the featherweight division, they don't seem to have an immediate correlation with each other. Or so you think. Because aside from the fact that both of these matchups are going to be fun and consequential on paper, it represents a specific problem. And this problem is actually very simple to understand, but before I explain it, I want you to picture this scenario. You're on a 6-fight winning streak, or you've won 3 out of your last 4, with your only loss being a close fight to a guy who's currently the number 2 ranked contender in the division. The hardcore fans know you can fight, but you're relatively unknown in the mainstream. But despite your mediocre fan appeal, you know performance is the only thing that matters in getting you a shot at the championship. So that's what you do. You just keep on performing. And by the grace of God, you land someone in the top 10. You get to fight someone in the top 10 for the first time in the UFC. This is huge because if you win, you will become a contender in the UFC, and maybe, just maybe, you become 1 win away from a potential title shot. So, you go in there, you have the performance of your life, and you win. And somehow, some way, you are now so close to your dream. Here's the problem. You can't just fight someone lower in the rankings because that will do nothing to help your claim at a title shot. You can't find a ranked opponent because all of them are in negotiations to fight each other or are not trying to fight you, who's someone relatively unknown but is a tough matchup. And you can't just leapfrog them to the title because the UFC can't justify that unless you're a mainstream star like a Jorge Masvidal or an Israel Adesanya or what have you. Plus, you're only making $50K to show and $50K to win, and you know wins and performance bonuses are hard to come by in the top of your division, but you want to get paid. However, the UFC is going to play hardball with you because they're a business and that's their right. So you decide to hold out until the right matchup comes along. But there it is. Right then and there, you become exactly what you hated when you were climbing up the division to become a contender. You become a quote-unquote fight dugger. This is the problem I like to call the contender paradox. When you wanted to be a contender, you were fighting everyone in sight. And now that you've gone to that point as a contender, you start to slow down in order to get your shot at something great. In my opinion, this is probably the biggest factor as to why you get log jams at the top of every division. And no division exemplifies this more than the featherweight division. Now, to be fair, and I mean this, it's a justified problem as a fighter because you never know what will happen next. There's a lot of horror stories about guys who all of a sudden lose 4 straight out of nowhere or get injured and never fight again. So it's very, very fair to hold out. And also, I want to make this clear, this isn't exclusively a featherweight division issue. The bantamweight division, the lightweight division, and to an extent the heavyweight division all have some kind of version of this problem. I just think that it's arguably at its worst at featherweight. And why is that? Because one, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway just had a close matchup, and you can make an argument they deserve a 3rd fight. But the problem is the division is going to be held up for another 6 to 8 months. And B, the featherweight division is probably the most stacked division in the UFC. I want you to think about it like this. Josh Emmett has only lost once at featherweight and is only ranked at number 7. Ryan Hall is at 13th because he's the boogeyman of the division and he has to literally beg people to fight him. Meanwhile, Zabit and Yair are rumored to fight in August, but that's a matchup fans have wanted for 2 years and it's still not confirmed. Oh, and the other title eliminator, Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega, for some reason, those two can't get a deal done despite hating each other. So when you factor all of those issues, you then start to realize the problem the featherweight division is having. And the problem is the best guys aren't fighting each other. And to be clear, I'm not saying anyone is ducking anyone. I don't think that's the case. I just think that guys are trying to be smart, guys are trying to get their opportunities, and it's creating a logjam. So why do Kattar and Ige fall into this? Well, let's say either one of them win, the natural progression is to be in the top 5. But everyone in the top 5 either has a potential matchup lined up or have their eye on the belt, and unfortunately that is also being held up as well. So while this matchup on paper looks like it will shake up the division, in the grand scheme of things, it won't really mean much. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. If you agree, why or why not? Also, please like and subscribe. I know it's a cliche thing to say, and I know every YouTuber says it, but it really does help us grow. Well, I'm Michael. This is The Leg Kick. Take it easy and stay safe.